My name is Lily. I'm 27 years old. I live in Asheville, North Carolina, the kind of city where everyone has a garden and strong opinions about coffee. I teach kindergarten, which means I spend my days with 5-year-olds who are completely, brutally honest about everything they feel. I used to think I learned that from them. Turns out, I was just surrounded by it at work and completely blind to it at home. My mom, Carol, she was my person. I know people say that, but I mean it in the most literal way. She was the first call after every hard day. The woman who drove 4 hours when I went through my first real heartbreak. The one who sat with me at my kitchen table at midnight eating cereal and just listening. We talked every single day, sometimes twice. She knew everything about my life because I told her everything. And for the things I couldn't say out loud, I wrote them down. I have kept a journal since I was 14. Spiral bound at first, then hardcover, then the beautiful leather ones I started buying myself as a little gift every new year. Private thoughts, raw thoughts. The stuff you process at 2 a.m. when the world is quiet and you finally have space to be completely honest with yourself. I never once thought I needed to hide them from my mother. Why would I? She was safe. She had always been safe. Reed came into my life about 3.5 years ago. We met through mutual friends, a hiking group of all things. He was warm, outdoorsy, genuinely kind. The kind of man who remembers what you ordered last time and just gets it for you. I fell for him slowly, and then all at once. And I wrote about it. Every single stage. The first time I realized I liked him. The first time he held my hand. The fights we had. The fears I had. The insecurities I never said to his face. The ones too fragile to survive being spoken out loud. Mom knew we were together. She liked him. She asked about him. She seemed genuinely happy for me. The relationship lasted about 18 months. When it ended on his side. He said he needed space. Said he wasn't sure about the future. I was devastated. And I wrote about that too. Every single thing I felt, every question, every moment I replayed, every fear that maybe I was too much, or not enough, or that I had done something wrong I couldn't identify. Mom was there through all of it, calling every day, listening, asking the right questions. I thought she was helping me heal. I had no idea she was taking notes. It was a Sunday afternoon, 8 months after Reed and I had ended. I ran into him at the farmer's market, the one on Lexington Avenue that I go to every single week. We stopped, we talked. It was awkward, but okay. And then he said something, completely offhand, like he thought I already knew. He said, "I appreciated what you wrote about forgiving yourself." Carol shared that with me a few weeks after we broke up. It actually helped me too. I smiled. I said, "Of course." And I walked to my car. And I sat there for a very long time, trying to figure out what he had just said. Because I had never shared anything with Reed. Not after the breakup, not a letter, not a text, not a single word. But I had written about forgiving myself. In my journal. In the leather one. The one I kept on my nightstand. The one I had never shown anyone. Not Reed, not my best friend, not a single person on this earth. I called my mom from that parking lot. I did not accuse her. I just asked, very quietly, "Did you read my journal, Mom?" Silence. The kind of silence that is its own answer. Then she said, "Lily, I was trying to help." Y'all. I hung up. And I sat in that car, in that farmer's market parking lot, and I felt something I did not have a word for yet. Not anger. Not even sadness. Something colder than both. The feeling of realizing that the place you went to be completely yourself, only place, had not been private for 3 years. Every fear I had ever written down, she had read. Every insecurity, every fight I had replayed at 2 a.m., every raw and unfinished thought I had trusted to those pages, she had read. And she had taken some of those pages, the most private ones, and handed them to the man I had been writing about. Not to hurt me. She genuinely believed she was helping. That, I want to say, is what made it harder. Not easier. Harder. Because I could not even be angry at something simple. I had to be angry at love that did not know its own boundaries. This is what psychologists call intimate betrayal. When someone who loves you completely violates your most private space, not out of malice, but out of a belief that their love gives them access to every part of you. It doesn't. Love is not a key to every room. Some rooms are yours alone. And the fact that someone entered without asking, even with good intentions, does not make the violation any smaller. Intimate betrayal. When someone who loves you crosses a line they didn't know existed. Tell me in the comments, has someone ever violated your privacy thinking they were helping? Drop it below. I did not call her back that day, or the next. I gave myself a week, not to plan anything dramatic, not to build a case, just to sit with what was true and figure out what I actually wanted. And what I wanted was not revenge. What I wanted was for her to understand the weight of what she had done. So I went home. I took every journal off my nightstand, off my bookshelf, out of the drawer. 14 years of journals. I packed them all into a box, and I drove them to my best friend Danny's apartment. And I left them there. Not because I was done writing, but because those journals were never going back into a home my mother had access to. Then I called Reed. I said, "I need you to tell me exactly what my mother shared with you. Everything, from the beginning." He told me. It had been going on since about 6 months into our relationship. Carol had been calling Reed separately, telling him things I had written, framing them as, "I think you should know how she feels." She thought she was advocating for me. She was dismantling the only space I had to be uncertain in private. I drove to my mother's house on a Saturday morning. She opened the door and I could see she had been waiting, anxious, apologetic already. I did not hug her. I sat down at her kitchen table, the same table where she had held my hand through so many hard things, and I put one of my journals on the table, closed. I said, "I want you to understand what this is. This is not a diary. This is not gossip. This is not something I write because I want someone to find it. This is the only place I have ever been completely honest with myself. The only place I am allowed to be scared and uncertain and wrong without consequence. You took that from me for 3 years,
Every time I wrote something raw, you were reading it.
And you took pieces of it and gave them to read without my knowledge, without my permission, because you decided your love for me gave you that right. It doesn't. Love does not give you access to every room. Some rooms are mine. And I need you to understand, not because I hate you, not because this is over, but because if you don't understand this, we cannot have the relationship I actually want with you. She cried. I did not. I had already done my crying in a farmer's market parking lot on a Sunday afternoon. I sat with her for an hour. I answered her questions. I listened to her reasons. And then I picked up my journal, still closed, and I left. Not forever, but for a while. And with a boundary I had never needed to say out loud before, because I had never known it needed to be said.
That was 11 months ago.
Mom and I talk now, carefully, with more space between us than there used to be. It is different. I won't pretend it isn't. But different does not mean worse. Sometimes it means more honest. Reed and I have not spoken since the phone call. There is nothing left to say. What I did do, I started a new journal. The most beautiful one I have ever bought. Dark green leather, gold clasp, thick cream pages. It lives at Danny's apartment. And every week, I go over there, we make tea, she reads her book, I write, and for the first time in 3 years, I know with absolute certainty, no one is reading these words but me.
That feeling of your own private space being completely yours again, honey, I cannot explain it except to say it feels like exhaling after holding your breath for so long, you forgot you were doing it. Here is what I know now. Your private self is not selfish. The thoughts you keep to yourself, the fears, the doubts, the unfinished feelings, they are not secrets. They are process. And your process belongs to you, not to the people who love you, not to the people you love, to you. Protect it. Not with anger, with intention. Because the moment you stop having a space that is entirely your own, you stop being able to fully know yourself. And knowing yourself, that is the one thing nobody can take from you if you don't let them.
Next time on Wounded Truth, she handed him her credit card because she trusted him completely. 3 weeks later, a hotel charge showed up on her statement. A hotel she had never once been to with him. She did not call. She did not text. She got dressed and walked straight through that lobby. What was on the other side of that door, nobody saw coming. If Lily's story found you today, share it with someone who needs permission to protect their own space. Subscribe to Wounded Truth. Every story on this channel exists because someone finally said it out loud. Drop a comment below. What moment hit you the hardest? This is Wounded Truth, and your story is always yours.